everyone. It's Nicole and John from Muscle Souls. We are here in Haliburton County for our first show, and we're glad you're here with us on the journey.
We're glad to have you along, and we're going to just talk about music. We're going to talk about ourselves and other things that come up. But glad to have you here, and thanks for joining us, and let's get started. Nicole and I are a songwriting team, a group. We have been performing for over 10 years, but the last few years we've been concentrating on studio stuff. And so we are without band at the moment. It's just her and I writing and producing the material, which you can find at our website, musclesouls.com. iTunes, Amazon Music, Spotify, and all the regular places you find music.
So tell me, John, tell me about the name Muscle Souls. Where did that come from?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that, Nicole. There's a place in Alabama called Muscle Shoals, and I'm sure a lot of people know this. And there was a recording studio there, still is, I believe, but it was called Fame Recording Studios. And there was a second studio as well that sort of splintered off of that one. Anyway, they recorded a lot of great music there. And it was called the Muscle Shoals Sound. The Rolling Stones recorded there, Aretha Franklin, even the Osmond Brothers recorded there. But a lot of people went there to try to get that sound.
I really love the Osmonds. They were great.
Yeah, they were, especially Jimmy. He's my favorite. And I parlayed the name into Muscle Souls, thinking of soul music and a lot of that stuff that I was into. But I thought of it as more... not so much the kind of music, but the kind of people who make it. Strong heart, or strong souls. So, and that's how the name came about.
So you've been doing this a lot longer than I have. And I've learned over the years that you've had a number of bands before. You've had a number of different names, and you had a Muscle Souls band. So this is not the first incarnation of this band. And you had the Sharp Set. And I guess what brought you back to this name?
The last band name I used before was called the Paisley Factor.
Oh, yeah, I did like that one too.
And it was, it sounded a little bit too psychedelic. So, or when I formed this group with new members, I just readopted the old name that I had actually in the 90s. So there are recordings of Muscle Souls back in 93, 94, 95 era. We played around Toronto a lot, but we never really broke out from there. I mean, I remember the drummer going to one of the record company people and saying, "Hey, I've got this band I'm in, la la la, whatever. They're really good." And I think he played her some stuff because he knew her well enough to do that. And her response is, "Yeah, sorry, that's not really what we're looking for. We're looking for the next Kurt Cobain." And so,
yeah, because I mean, people do
not
ask
me.
People ask a lot, like, what's the origins of the name of the band and stuff. And I mean, I'm with you. I love it for, it's a sense of strong heart and soul, and I love it for that. But I know that you have a really deep history and love of soul music. Tell me about it. Tell me about the kind of stuff you were listening to. I mean, particularly at the time when you were making music first time around, because it's really influenced how you're making music this time around with me.
I was really into Motown.
Do you have favorites?
On Motown?
Yeah.
Well, on Motown in particular, well, there's so many great artists on Motown, but of course you can't not mention Stevie Wonder,
Of course, I love him.
Smokey Robinson, Marvin
Love him.
Gaye.
Love him.
You know, the vocal bands, the Four Tops, Temptations, the girl bands, of course, the Supremes, Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, like all those groups I love, but I started to gravitate more towards Southern soul stacks. For example, Otis Redding, huge Al Green fan. But, I can talk about people like Spencer Wiggins and Howard Tate and Syl Johnson, Ovi Wright, Five Blind Boys of Alabama, like all those gospel groups. So somehow, if you mix that British invasion with that Southern soul kind of influence, they're all sort of in there in what I draw from writing.
It sounds like you did some deep digging when you discovered that Southern soul. I mean, like, what was your starting point? Because, like, how do you get from Otis Redding to, was it Spencer Wiggins?
Pretty awesome singer. I was listening to Elvis Costello, and I thought he was really cool and a great writer and everything. And I started writing songs, and he was someone that I was listening to at the time, and I realized my songs sounded like Elvis Costello songs. And I thought, oh, wait a minute, I don't want to sound like Elvis Costello. I mean, I like him, but what did he listen to get to write what he wrote? So I started going into deeper and deeper into, more obscure, or not obscure for R&B and soul fans, but not generally known to the average, listener. And also it was from decades before sometimes, or decade before, whenever the time I was discovering that. So yeah, and then I had a good friend that was really into music as well. So he would feed me stuff. He would make back in the day cassettes for me with random stuff. He was a record collector, avid. I mean, I bought records, but I didn't buy them like religiously, like like an obsession. But I did discover a lot of cool music through him as well. So that got, that was the digging, and that was the finding out of stuff.
And what was drawing you to that music? I mean, for me, things that draw me to music, and we've talked a lot about this, is like, I like a melody, but for me, lyrics really bring me in. And because I like to sing. So what was it for you that really drew you into that music?
Well, I think just the overall sound of it, sonically. But when you look at the lyrics, they're usually the soul and R&B stuff although there were topical songs, Marvin Gaye, of course, did What's Going On and things like that, when the Temptations were doing Ball of Confusion and Psychedelic Shack and all this, Papa Was a Rolling Stone. But most of the songs of that era and in R&B and soul were about relationships and sexual politics. And I had been listening to progressive rock, mostly British bands, Yes, Genesis, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, all this stuff, marvelous musicians, but, would be considered very pretentious by, music reviewers. And it was, it was very indulgent music. The lyrics were like very, if you look at lyrics by John Anderson of Yes, they're very ethereal. They're very obscure. I don't really know what he's talking about, but they didn't let the lyrics get in the way of a good song. Just as like, do you remember The 21st Day of September by Earth, Wind and Fire? I mean, so I realized that although I love lyrics, the music is the most important part, and the lyrics are they're important to me as a writer, but there are plenty of like songs that I love where the lyrics could be considered terrible. But what I liked about the lyrics of soul and R&B music was it wasn't filled with a lot of imagery. I mean, if you ask me what is the greatest song ever written, it's "The Dark End of the Street" by the James Carr version, but written by Dan Penn and is it Chip Moman? The other writer escapes me, but it's just very elegantly simple lyrics. And I'm not into trying to be clever with lyrics and show you how smart I am, or look at that rhyme. I bet you didn't think of that.
So when you start writing a song, what's your starting point?
The starting point could be, it's usually a phrase, a catchphrase that someone might say. For example, I had a job working at this store, and someone said to me, "I'll leave that in your capable hands." And somehow a little ding dong bell went off, and I went, capable hands. And I wrote a song called Capable Hands. Sometimes it's a phrase like that that gives you something to start with.
And then do you like go to those soulful roots of music, or are you thinking, oh, this is going to be a pop song? Like, do you have in your head that just based on a lyric that what you, because I mean, I think you're a very talented writer. You know, when we're writing a song together, I tend to come in the lyric part as opposed to in the music composition part, because I mean, you're the player. You pick up a guitar and you make something out of nothing, and it amazes me every time. But I'm curious, where do you go? I mean, you have an idea for a song, lyric or riff or something, but where do you go? How does the music that you listen to shape your song idea?
Well, it can be a lot of different ways. Sometimes I have an idea for a song that sits there for months or years with no music idea to go with it. I have so many music ideas with no lyrics, because to me, the lyrics are the harder part to write. The music comes very easily. But when they're a good match, I get on a musical idea and I just keep pursuing it. But it's often like when I first started writing, one of the things I thought to do, there was probably some songwriting books, but I wasn't aware of them. But what I started to do was like, I don't have any form because I don't have any music yet. So I started writing new lyrics to songs I already knew.
Oh, I think you told me this once before.
So one of the songs was a song by The Clash called Rudy Can't Fail. And I wrote new lyrics to that song. But just in general, sometimes you're marrying an idea that you've had for a while with a new idea. And sometimes they come together. But I will definitely often think of a song that it could be a new song or it could be an old song that pops up. It's kind of like a competition. It's like, oh, I want to write something like that. So, for example, in our new single, Love My Baby's Love, that was based on Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon by the Kinks. So I heard that, I knew the song, but one day it popped up and I was like, oh, I love that descending bass line. It's not maybe that special. A lot of songs have used that, but it was like, I like that. And I started riffing with that, and then it became a whole new song. And no one has yet said, oh, that reminds me of Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon. But although one person did say, oh yeah, that sounds kind of like 1966, late 60s, whatever. So they pinpointed the sort of era that might have that. But it's a common musical device that is used in like many decades, but it was quite prominent there because the way it was recorded and originally just, bass drums. It was quite in the front.
Um,
But that was one song that sort of developed from thinking of another song, and then you end up with something else. I mean, you have to steal, and you have to steal from the best writers.
Okay, so speaking of form, I think that we have a form. In many of the songs that we do, we go into, I mean, there's always a catchy chorus. I mean, which I love because I think, like I said, for me, words are so important. It's what pulls me into a song and it's what keeps me, especially if like those lyrics they're meaningful to me. And I keep thinking about it and thinking about what it means to me. And what I find with our songs is we have our verse, we have our catchy chorus, which repeats, and you feel it and you remember it because like that's why it's a catchy chorus. But we also like to do a big finish, which I love. And somebody said the other day that it's very theatrical, and I don't know that I would describe it like that, but I get it because like, you know, we like to do, this is our number and this is our big finish. The only thing missing really are jazz hands, but I love it.
Yeah.
Because I think like you want that lift, you want that big ending because like, it's like, this is my story and this is the end of my story and it's big. And I want it to be, you know, I want it to be epic. And sometimes it's a small finish, but it's meaningful for that song because it's so important that voice on its own to demonstrate whatever it may be. Maybe it's loneliness or maybe it's solitude, but
Right.
and in itself, it's a big finish in a small way.
Yep.
But I don't think that we do it intentionally, or maybe we do.
Oh yeah, it's intentional.
Well,
But I mean, it's a musical device. I mean, when you listen to a song and it takes you somewhere, you don't necessarily you don't want the listener to think, "Oh, I like that modulation there. I like the way they went from 4/4 to 3/4 time." You want them to you just want to lead them by the hand and take them to the end of the story.
yeah, like I want to be on this ride with you.
But you know, you need to make it interesting. And I mean, there's a lot of music out there. You know, people poo-poo a lot of, you know, pop music today as being very simple and all that. And you know, some of it is, but there's always been music like that. It's just every era has its, you know, sort of novelty songs and silly songs, or you know, or very deep and meaningful songs, and some survive to you know, when you think about a song like American Pie or something by Don McLean, which is, I don't know how many minutes, at least 6 minutes long or something. That song survived. Why? Because it's a great song and it's a great performance. And
I have to be in the mood to listen to that song start to finish. But I mean, you can usually get me through, you know, the first few verses, and then I'm like, okay.
Sure, it's a long narrative, but he takes you on a journey, and but I don't think anyone ever listened to that song and stopped it at 4 minutes saying, "Okay, that's enough." Like
No.
you kind of have to ride with him to the final conclusion.
Yeah.
And that's one of like, that's a talent in itself that he got you to take you on a ride that long when pop songs were not typically, or no pop songs are typically that long, but there are a few exceptions, you know, and Bohemian Rhapsody being the biggest, but that wasn't like a pop hit initially. You know, it sort of became a hit after people kind of, because you have to get to know it. There's all these parts to it. So, but once you know it, it's like people went to see Phantom of the Opera and stuff for the first time. They didn't know the whole story and how the songs went, but then some of the people saw it repeatedly, or they bought the soundtrack and they learned, and they learned every note.
Yeah.
And, you know, classical music is like that too, but you don't necessarily, you know, if you're not a classical music person, you're not necessarily going to have the patience to go through like the different movements of an overture or something. But it will come back to certain, you could take some of those overtures and make a 3-minute pop song out of it by condensing all the like catchy bits, all the melodies that are, So
There are definitely some songs out there that I get bored. I mean, they're catchy, but they repeat too long.
yeah.
They just last too long, and I think, this could have been a really great 2-minute song. It doesn't need to be 4.5 minutes because I'm hearing the same thing, and now I'm bored.
Right. Yeah. Well, this comes back to the different purposes of music. Like when many years ago too, there was we know the term EP or extended play, but there was a lot of disco songs that the song itself was maybe 2 minutes long, but it has this huge long instrumental outro. But that's because it was meant to be danced to. So if
Yeah,
it's
well,
dance music,
that's the
the
purpose
song
of
could
that.
be
That's
24 hours long, and you might in the 23rd hour go, I'm going to get up and dance to this. I just got to get up
But
and
that's
dance.
the purpose of those songs,
That's
right? Those
right.
songs were not made for
Listening.
no, those songs were made for grooving and dancing and like you couldn't help but get up and boogie.
Yeah. But so that music has a purpose, and some folk quiet instrumental, singer songwriter person, that music has a different purpose, and that is to listen to the lyric in their story or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So every song, it can have a different thing. But as far as like those endings that we do,
Yeah.
just trying to make the music interesting
Yeah.
and that is our. For those of you who haven't heard our music, that really is what we're trying to do. We're trying to take you on a little journey. We're trying to keep it under 4 minutes, but which is longer than we've talked here. But we're basically trying to take you somewhere musically and come along with us, and we'll get you back safely, kind of thing.
Yeah, hopefully with a smile on your face or something to think about.
I'm going to try to fill the world with beautiful music. That's my motto.
And I love it. I love making music with you.
Oh, well, thank you.
It's my favorite thing in the world to do.
Well,
So let's keep doing it.
all right, Nicole. Well, we're Muscle Souls. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. If you're enjoying these conversations and the music we make, we'd love your support. Making music is something we care about deeply, but it does come with some real costs. Hiring musicians, mixing, mastering, all the things that make a song come alive. If you want to help us keep creating, you can buy us a coffee. It's a small gesture that makes a big difference for independent artists like us. Go to www.ko-fi.com/musclesouls. And if you can't, that's totally okay. Even just subscribing to the channel helps more than you know. Thanks for listening and being part of this little creative world with us.